welcome in to be our guest. And I'm smiling because we have one of God's people with us today. And we have one of our favorite pastors, John Ed Mathison. John Ed was the pastor at Fraser for years and years and years, and he is a prime example of how you never stop spreading the word. I just love all the things that you are doing.
Well, thank you, and I'm having the time of my life. Have you ever heard that? It is the time of my life.
It's a good thing.
And God opens doors, and I just said, look, I'm in my 80s now, but I sort of worked out a 10-year plan of where we're going for the future. And if you ever quit moving forward,
that's
you die.
right. You are right.
My dad always taught me there's no such thing as retirement. All you do is just sort of redirect how your gifts can be used, and that's what I'm trying to do. And thank y'all for always emphasizing that on this program.
Well, we believe, right. And so we want to be sure that that is a part of everything that we do because this world needs it.
Amen.
And we want to talk about, you've written a book, you do a lot of things, but today we kind of wanted to touch on the book and what motivated you to do this and what's it about?
Well, I love sports. I've always been engaged in sports. I went through college on a basketball scholarship. I played tennis and racquetball and other sports, and sports mean a lot to me. I do now a lot of coaches conferences, 3 or 4 coaches conferences a year. And I love speaking to coaches because they have such a huge influence, and I like doing a lot of things with teachers. And I find myself always using sports as an illustration of some of the very basic principles of life. And so I thought, I'm just going to write some articles, and there are 54 here. Now, I'm not good at math, but that's one for every week of the year,
right.
Plus 2 for folks that can't count well. So, so I do that, and they're just life lessons that I've learned. And I've had such a huge response to it because everybody likes sports, or most everybody.
Right.
And at least you can learn a lot of things about sports from that. And so that was the inspiration for doing this. I try to write a book every year.
Good.
I figure at my age, you need to be engaged in doing something. So for last year, 2021, I just did it on life lessons learned from sports. And some of them about coaches, some about events, some about great players. Some of them I experienced myself. But all of them, and at the end of each one, there are 54 of them. Now, you see, I wrote this for some of my friends. Number one, it's got a lot of pictures on it. They don't read well. So for some of my friends, I just put pictures in here so they can see
that
it.
Works.
But there is a life lesson from each of these sports. And then what I did, Virginia, I highlight what the life lesson is. I've got a lot of folks that are friends that can read it. They can read it, but they don't get the point. So what you got to do is, hey, here's a life lesson. And then in the bold here, it gives you the life lessons. This one's about the general manager of the Los Angeles Rams. I just opened to it.
Oh, wow.
And they just won the Super Bowl. He's the prototype for the new general manager. And he's a strong Christian gentleman. Good. And I have had a chance to meet him, and he is so good. But he just said, he was in Eufaula, Alabama.
Oh, my.
And so he just said to a friend of mine, Bryant Bush, he said, we're going to dream outside our environment. Now, a lot of folks just live inside their environment, so they get locked in. He said, let's dream outside the environment. And who would have ever thought that a guy from Eufaula could become general manager of a professional football team that wins the Super Bowl and who is called the prototype? So there's a lesson in here about that. And it's trying to get young people, and they're applicable to business. Dream big. If you don't have a dream, you'll never have a dream come true. And if you just dream inside your environment, you're not going very far. But if you're willing to step outside of that, look what God can do. And Les Snead is just an example of that.
I think is thinking outside of the box. And realizing that nobody defines you but you. So many people believe the bad things that they're told, or they come up in a terrible environment. And you know what? People like Dr. Ben Carson,
right.
that his mother couldn't even read.
Right.
He came out off the streets. I'm telling you, Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it.
You can do it, that's right. And I got one in here on Sugar Jordan. and he grew up in Selma. And I got a friend who graduated with him, or her daddy did, and she showed me an annual. You know, your high school annual, you got all your pictures in it,
Right.
and when you're graduating, you usually write a note next to your picture in somebody else's annual. And what he had written next to his picture as a senior in high school, he said, "Someday I expect to be a major college football coach." Now, who's going to do that from Selma, Alabama?
Wow.
But that was his expectation. And I contend, Virginia, that he didn't become a major college football coach the day he signed it. He did it the day when he was in high school, and that was what he expected. And you know, we expect things, we need to move forward. And he was a great military person. He had a
Right.
couple of the Bronze Star, and I mean, different things. In fact, he was in General Patton's security group.
Ooh.
And they said that, and I've tried to verify this, and I hadn't found anybody that said it wasn't true. A couple of folks said they thought it was true. But on the front of his Jeep, he had a big sign that said War Eagle. And they asked General Patton, said, "What is War Eagle?" He says, "I don't know, but Major Jordan told me to put it on it, and so I do what he says." So he did that. And there's a great one about Bear Bryant, and you know, you'd be interested to know the lesson in this. He agreed with Steve Sloan and Wayne Atchison, some other guys, to start the Fellowship of Christian Athletes at the University of Alabama.
Right.
He gave his permission to. Now today, Alabama has the longest running Fellowship of Christian Athletes group of any school in America. And the first thing they did was, Bear Bryant said, "Why don't we invite Billy Graham to come?" Now that's dreaming outside the box.
That's right.
Billy Graham came to Tuscaloosa and helped kick off the whole Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So, you know, the lesson is don't ever dream too small. God's got great things.
You just have to trust that God has a plan for you, and you have to help Him. You have to work
Amen.
for things and believe in things. And John Ed, thank you. You brighten up a world that so much needs that light of love and that light of faith. So we thank you.
Oh, I'm the one. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for letting me come be a part of this.
Well, we love having you, and thank you for being with us. And you dream, and we'll be right back.